Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton. Welcome to my Noahide family channel. You know, what does our personal presentation and our behaviour tell people about us? Does it give away some of our inner secrets? Does it give a forewarned message of who we are or that essence within us? Let's take a look at some things that we are told and know about. First of all, we know that we are in the presence of the divine. We're in the presence of God at all times, not just waking times, but 24/7, every minute of every day and night. So we can understand from that Hashem knows everything about us anyway. He sees and hears everything. So, we're not hiding anything from our loving Father. And then we also know that we are created in the image of God. Now, how do we know that? Well, we look to Torah for that. And I'll just read in Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 27. And this is what it says. And God said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness. They shall rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and over the animals, the whole earth, and every creeping thing that creeps upon earth." So God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Now, there is a commentary here, which I will just mention to you. So it says, just as man is unique, so the manner of his creation was unique and exalted. Throughout the chapters, God brought all things into being with an utterance, and we've talked about divine utterance before. But he created man with his own hands, that is, from the earth. In his image, in the image of God, among all living creatures, man alone is endowed, like his creator, with morality, reason, and free will. So we can be assured that that is factual because that comes from the Torah. So first of all, we know we're in God's presence at all times, and we know that we are created in God's image. So the image of God is within us. So I want you to think about that as we proceed through the next few minutes. We also have a wonderful expression that Rabbi Nachman has printed, it has said, and it's been since printed. And this comes from a little booklet called The Outpouring of the Soul. And I just want to tell you what Rabbi Nachman said. He said that when we speak with Hashem, meaning pray, he puts aside all his concerns and turns his attention exclusively to the one speaking with him. So there's some powerful statements there, isn't there, combined with the Torah and what Rabbi Nachman has said. Though we can see through this just how important we are to God and how aware he is of everything at all times that we are doing or involved with. So how we present ourselves is not fooling Hashem. He knows what's down inside there. So what sort of a conclusion can we draw from this? Well, let's think about this. We know now that all we say and do, our behaviour, etc., is under the watchful presence of our divine creator, of God. And therefore, we can draw from that our presentation in a manner of speaking, describes us. It describes who we are. So that's not only to Hashem, but also to the rest of mankind, or the rest of creation for that matter. I mean, even your animals know when you're in a cross mood. You know, the dogs will sort of give you a wide berth and wonder what's going on. So all of creation possibly senses all of that. So let me just put this in a different light. So it's something that we've probably all experienced at some time, and we can relate to it quite easily. So let's suggest for a minute that we're going for a job interview. It's not just any job interview, mind you. We are going for an interview with the Chief Executive Officer of this big corporation. So this is an important job interview. So we would put some thought into it before we approach that interview. I mean, there would be things we'd have to do. We'd have to reflect on our curriculum vitae. Is it up to standard? Have I left anything out? Is there anything there that I might need to explain, etc.? We'd be prepared for it. We would know that there will be some questions asked of us, and we would also know that we would have some questions to ask the CEO. That is if we're preparing properly. The other thing that we would certainly give consideration to is our physical presentation. Depending on the job, but seeing as this is an interview with the CEO, we can assume that you're probably not going to be one of the night cleaners there. Not that that's anything to be ashamed of. Night cleaners just as important as you are. But so you're probably going to be working in the corporate section there. So you would put some attention into how you presented yourself. You would probably think, depending on whether you're male or female, you would dress appropriately in your garments. You would present yourself in a refined, sensible and modest manner. And you would have prepared yourself for that day, just as we prepare ourselves for any day that we are participating in. However, this one is a slightly special day because it's the CEO's interview. Okay, so we would be thinking about our presentation, what sort of clothing we're going to wear, our behaviour. We'd need to be conscious of our speech, our questions. We'd want to be listening to what the CEO is asking us. And certainly we by now should have our CV in presentable order. Now let's jump to the CEO. Now a skilled CEO, or for that matter, anyone who is doing job interviews for any position under the sun, they have certain skills. That is why they are interviewing you for the job. They know things to ask. They have powers of observation that tell them things that they know about you before you even open your mouth. So let me tell you, as the door opens and you walk in, that CEO or that job interviewer is going to know things about you before you open your mouth or greet them or shake their hand or whatever the process may be. And I can tell you from experience, I wasn't the CEO of a corporation, but I did a lot of job interviews in my past life before I retired. So there were certain things that you just pick up and skills that just flash like a neon sign when you see them. So this is how we present before even behaving or opening our mouth is telling the viewer or the interviewer something about you already. And I can tell you, if you had someone come in who was coiffed up beautifully and then you look down and they had open-toed sandals and dirty toenails, that tells you something. Not that too many people go like that, but everything has to be refined and match. So therefore, that skilled CEO has already got a little bit of an overview, hopefully a very favourable one, before communication begins. Now, bearing in mind what I have just described, can you now understand how important it is about our presentation with the divine? We're talking about God, our creator, our loving father. He is way beyond the CEO of a corporation. So if you can't fool a CEO of a worldly corporation, trust me, you're never going to fool God. He knows you inside out, tip you upside down, knows everything about you, probably more than you know about yourself. So this is why I use that as an example. God knows, hears and sees everything about us. We're not fooling God, and in lots of ways, let me assure you, you're not fooling others either. There are plenty of people out there who will say, oh, don't judge a book by the cover. Well, let me tell you, sometimes the cover that you're wearing or not wearing is going to tell people something about you. So we know now that we are confident that we are a reflection of the divine. So we're made in the image of the divine. We have that part of the divine within us. So we have a responsibility because of that. And so now how do we present ourselves? Are we that reflection of God's divine image? Are we a pleasing presentation for Hashem? We're not talking about fashion icons or anything like this here. We're talking about that presentational that comes mostly from within. So is that a true reflection of our image of God within us? So let's think about that. How do we look at that, and how do we judge that for ourselves? How do we examine that and reflect on it? So let's think about what our spiritual CV and even physical CV says about us as in the service of Hashem. So we're working for Hashem's corporation. So what is our speech like? Is our speech and our behaviour generally refined? Is it a truthful manifestation of what we are and what we represent? Is our mind on doing good for others? Is it on the aspects of humility and truthfulness, of respecting others, of kindness, and of modesty? Not only modesty in how we dress, but modesty in our speech? Or is it sprinkled with profanities or coarse expressions that would not be appropriate when we're in the employ of Hashem? So to conclude this video, I want to just say, let's ponder about the job interview aspect, but let's apply it to working for our spiritual creator. That's our CEO. So are we a reflection of his divineness? Are we a reflection of his creation? Are we presenting what we personally are ourselves? And are we truthfully presenting what we're asked to do? And that is to abide by the 7 Noahide laws. We know what they are now. Are we following those in order that we, A, reflect a favourable image of the divine within us, and we are continuing in the service of the divine as he has planned for us to do? Each of us has a job to do, and part of that is checking in to see if our CV is up to scratch. Do we need to make any changes to it? Is there something that we should refine or build on a little more. Please take care. I'll talk to you next time, and God bless.